Let us try to explore the disruptive technology of today and the future artificial intelligence in detail. What is disruption? So, before getting into what AI is all about with a detailed note on it, what's disruption? So, any technology that is going to change the traditional practices, okay, that has been carried out in any domain is what we say as a disruption. COVID is also a disruption which has changed a lot of traditional practices in our life. We go to the college, we meet students, we take class. That's our traditional practice. And now it has been changed. Online practice has come in and it has been adapted now as a regular practice. This is a complete disruption, this online education. So, this artificial intelligence is one such disruptive technology which is ruling and it is going to rule the further world. So let's try to understand about it in detail what AI is all about. So there is a machine which is looking like a human. So that's all about AI. So we want the machines to act like human. So what human possess? It's the intelligence. So the intelligence which is embedded inside the human has to be there or has to be expected inside a machine. So that's what AI is all about. So now the concept is how do you bring in this intelligence? Can this intelligence be developed of its own, or is it to be inculcated, or is it to be brought in from somewhere? So that's what is the discussion for today. So let's explore what AI is and then we'll move on to the further sessions. So it is an ability to mimic or duplicate the functions of the human brain. So if you want intelligence, so from where do the intelligence comes in? So it is from the activities of the brain. We get input from the environment, which is the outside world. We try to process inside our brain. Then that processed output is being given to the outside world through our senses, which is the mouth, hands, and eyes, and all the senses are used for giving the output. So, these functions we want the machine to do. So, all of these sensory inputs and the necessary outputs has to be mapped and given to a machine. That's how the design of the machine should be. Okay, for this to happen, we need some algorithms. So we need to convert how a traditional computer programming tries to convert the inputs to output. The same way, the inputs that are taken from the environment or from the user who is sitting or outside the system has to be processed as like a human being and has to be given as the output. So for that we are in need of the algorithm because it is completely understood that machine cannot act of its own. It needs the input from the developer community. So we have specific set of AI based algorithms which has to be intelligent of its own to give the output, and we need to take input, right? So generally in traditional programming we take input from human being either by the way of keyboard or by the way of sound or by the way of inputs camera or something. So here also we need the devices to perceive that perceives its environment because human beings see every sense of us, okay, is looking at the world. If somebody touches from the back also we are awake. So same way we want the input or the devices to tape that perceives the environment. Perceives is the way that you look at. And finally, whatever actions you take, okay, let's say person A and person B are there. One is called as smart. A is informed to be smart over B. How does that smartness come in? So if your actions maximize towards the goal, okay, then we say they are smart. So everybody likes to be smart. Everybody likes smart people. So that's what all the actions that are resulting out of this processing, AI based algorithmic processing, has to maximize the chance of successfully achieving its goals. So it is, if you look at as in consolidation, it's again the same. We are going to have AI based algorithm which is going to take the input from the environment rather than stipulated inputs. Now these inputs are going to get processed around this AI based algorithm and gives back or throws back as an output to the outside world. The only issue here is the process, the place from where you are going to take is also dynamic. The processing also needs to be dynamic because the output has to maximize its goal. So, how do you improvise? Okay, I have understood that my outputs has to maximize the goal. How do you improvise is the next question. For example, let's say it is set to have robotic waiters, okay, in many hotels as of now. Initially, these waiters would have been trained to do certain activities. For example, if someone has ordered for 2 cups of juice, okay, the waiter can take the path which is already stored to reach the particular table. They can keep moving forward, okay, to reach the uh, people, okay, who are ready for taking it. This action will obviously happen and there won't be any problem because the number of steps that it has to take and the way that it needs to hold and the way that it needs to keep it on the table, everything would have been pre-written. Okay, but for example, you assume while it is moving, so towards this destination table, suppose if a kid runs in between, okay, suppose a kid runs in between, what will happen? This expectation, this dynamic expectation, if it was not written as part of the program for this robotic waiter, yes, it will fall down. All the juice will get wasted. Not only this wastage, it will also irritate. And what would be the instant commentary? Human waiters are good rather than robotic waiters. Yes, I hope you are with me. So, how to improvise this? Okay, so this is an unexpected event that has happened. Now that this has to be trained, okay, suppose if an obstacle comes in between, how do you improvise? What is the action that it needs to take? Then, suppose if the table on its way has some hindrances, okay, and if it couldn't drain, okay, so this human waiters will just slightly move the table to make the path clear. So, will that be an action initially? Definitely not. So, the actions are to be assumed or are to be observed from the environment. Then it has to get trained. Okay, and all the course of time, okay, you can see the improvisation in the course of action. See, there will be an improvement, then there will be a drop down improvement, then it will stable, then when there is an unexpected activity, yes, it will take the learning, then it moves on, and there should be a performance improvement in there should be a considerable increase in the performance. That is what is expected. Finally, once this learning happens continuously, you can see a perfect robot as similar to a human robot. Okay, so our perfect waiter as similar to a robotic waiter. What is expected to make or to bring in this perfectionism is it's only learning. So AI is all about learning from the environment. Use it, okay, to train yourself and to produce a better output, better output, better output. There is nothing said to be accurate output in this case because all is about optimization. Okay, so once this is understood, moving on to what kind of AI is currently existing in practice. AI basically got into three divisions. One is narrow, another one is general intelligence, another one is super intelligence. So, what narrow intelligence is about? So, this is the kind of missions that we do have as of now. These kind of AI missions, yes, it can definitely work perfect in the stipulated environments, but will it have the dynamism? Let's say this COVID based robots, the robots used for checking this COVID. So they would have been trained to check your temperature and check whether the people are wearing mask. Okay, and then they'll sanitize and they will be permitted. Okay, but what if somebody is having it doesn't have a fever but only a cough? Will that be identified? What if it is a kid, okay, which has smelled something from outside and because of that irritation it got cough? The robot cannot be able to understand. Okay, so yes, it can work fine like a human being. given restricted conditions. The condition should be restricted. The people has to be perfect. They should come on the queue. They have to do all the environmental checks and then it has move on. So this kind of machines is what we call as reactive machines. They'll be reactive in the sense given the condition it will work. It will work to perform single operation better. Okay, then this isn't enough. Okay, we do not want such kind of single entities to see. We never want even our mom or the father to perform one single task. Okay, they everybody is expected to be multifaceted or multitasking. So, in order to bring in that, limited memory machines came in practice. All that what we do have today, like ML or DL based machines, come into this category, wherein it can understand the dynamism that exists inside the experience. See, you give hundreds of images of the COVID X-rays. It can able to understand the pattern that exists and then it is able to give you the proper decision. Okay, this is what we call as limited memory machine. Why is it limited memory? Yes, it is working on a limited data set, trying to explore and find what are all the patterns that exist to arrive at a decision. That is limited memory machine. And this is what is fruitfully been achieved as of now. But the human community doesn't stop here and they have moved on to explore artificial general intelligence, which we say a machine has achieved based on theory of mind. So how do you achieve this theory of mind? It's important. Okay, when the mindset of a human being is able to be captured by a machine in such a way that if it acts like a machine, okay, so what is the difference between this narrow and general intelligence? A level of cognition has to be brought in. You need to conduct psychological experiments to understand the human, and you need to bring in a lot of dynamism because it's not rule based approach. You cannot say that since the COVID chest x-ray has this much of what to say, the lung infection, it will be a COVID. Okay, certain doctors, if you go to a doctor, he will keenly observe, he'll look at your history and then he will say whether you might be a COVID patient or it is because of your long term infection. It wasn't achieved using your limited memory machines. So that we call it as theory of human brain. Okay, so we have to bring in machines that will act like human being by observing the theory of mind, okay, or the theory of brain. So this we call it as cognitive application. This is under development now. Okay, so people are moving towards developing cognitive applications that can give suggestions and how the world is going to exploring or moving on ahead. It is to bring in artificial super intelligence. Okay, what's artificial super intelligence? So we need self-aware machines. Okay, like how the human being evolves. Okay, so till a particular stage will be brought up by teachers, you'll be brought up by parents, you'll be brought up by many people who are around surrounding. After that, what will happen? So our decisions will be self-made. Okay, so if a particular concept is being taught like the way by your teacher or your parent, definitely after certain point of time you will replace it with your own decision. That is what we call it as self-aware. Okay, so replacing the written decisions by the decisions of its own as and when it grows or evolves, okay, in its life. That's where we end up with super intelligence. And this is not what we have achieved, and it will take a long way to move on. So that's about the different types of AI that exist. Shortly, I'll pick you up in the next video to discuss about how to start building an AI systems. Thank you.